You need a home, and I need a mother, for my daughter, said the lonely CEO to the shivering nurse. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. Let's meet our main character. The next day, Emma sat on her small couch, her phone pressed to her ear, trying to focus on the conversation, but her mind kept drifting back to the night before. She had never felt so embarrassed in her life. The sting of running out of the restaurant still lingered, and she couldn't shake the image of that man's face, Liam. The way he had looked at her with that mix of surprise and amusement made her heart race again. Was it really all that awkward? Or was she just overthinking? She sighed, rubbing her temples. I just hope I never see him again, she muttered to herself. Her best friend Jenny's voice came through the phone, a teasing tone in her voice. You sure about that? You said he was nice. Emma groaned, sinking back into the couch, pulling a pillow over her face. Nice? I ran out of there like a complete idiot. What was I supposed to do? Stay and pretend nothing happened? Well, it sounds like you really hit it off, Jenny said. He was probably just shy. You never know, he might even be into you. Yeah, right, Emma replied with a laugh, her voice muffled by the pillow. He's probably laughing about me with his friends right now. Come on, he wasn't that bad. And hey, you did say you liked him, and he didn't seem like a jerk. Emma paused. She had been caught up in her embarrassment. But Jenny had a point. Liam hadn't been rude or judgmental. If anything, he had been polite and patient with her. Maybe it wasn't such a disaster after all. She sighed again. I don't know, Jen. He's probably out of my league, and I'm sure I'll never see him again. The phone clicked off, and Emma tossed it aside, trying to focus on the painting in front of her. She had always dreamed of opening her own art studio, but the bills kept piling up, and she couldn't seem to get a break. Her phone buzzed once more. A text from an unknown number popped up. She hesitated for a moment before opening it. Hey Emma, it's Liam. I just wanted to apologize for not clearing things up last night. I had a feeling you'd run off, but I just wanted to say it was a pleasure talking to you. I know this is probably awkward, but I thought I'd reach out. If you'd like, maybe we could grab coffee sometime and try again. No pressure. Emma's heart skipped a beat. Liam. He had texted her. She stared at the message, not knowing how to respond. She hadn't expected this at all. Was he really interested in seeing her again, or was this just some polite way to brush off the situation? She bit her lip, torn. She wasn't one to play games, but this felt different. She wanted to know more about him, even if she was scared of making another mistake. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard as she typed out a response. Hi Liam, thank you for reaching out. I'd love to grab coffee sometime. I promise I won't run off this time. She hit send before she could talk herself out of it. A few moments later, her phone buzzed again. Great. How about tomorrow afternoon? There's a little cafe downtown. I'll be there around 2. Emma smiled, her nerves slowly easing. She couldn't believe she was actually doing this. It felt like something out of one of those romantic comedies Jenny loved to watch. The next afternoon, Emma walked into the cafe, her heart pounding in her chest. She looked around, hoping to spot Liam. And then she saw him. He was sitting at a corner table, his dark hair slightly tousled, his eyes scanning the menu. When he looked up and saw her, a smile tugged at the corner of his lips. Hi, Emma, he said, standing up. I'm glad you came. Emma smiled back, her nerves starting to settle. I almost didn't, to be honest, she admitted, as she slid into the seat across from him. But I thought, why not? I owe you a proper apology for running off like that. No need to apologize, Liam said, his voice warm. I totally understand. It was a weird situation, and I didn't exactly help by not clearing things up right away. But I'm glad we're here now. Emma smiled, feeling the tension from the night before slip away. They spent the next hour chatting about everything from their favorite books to their childhood memories. It was easy, comfortable even, like they had known each other for years. And with every laugh, every shared story, Emma felt herself drawn more to him. There was something genuine about Liam, something that made her feel safe and seen. By the time they finished their coffee, Emma knew she was ready for more. So, Liam said, his voice a little softer now. "I'm glad we did this. I know it's early, but I really enjoyed getting to know you." "Me too," Emma replied, her heart skipping a beat. She looked down at her empty cup, trying to keep her emotions in check. "Maybe we could do this again sometime?" Liam smiled, his eyes softening. "I'd like that." As they stood to leave, Emma felt like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. For the first time in a long while, she felt like things might actually be looking up. Maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something real. The following week, Emma found herself sitting at her small, cluttered desk at the diner, staring out the window as the world bustled by. Her mind kept drifting back to Liam. After that coffee date, things had been different. It had felt natural, easy even, to talk to him, and every time they met, she felt a little more comfortable in his presence. It wasn't just his success or his charm that had drawn her in, it was something deeper, something real. He had a way of listening that made her feel seen, truly seen, in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. The phone on the counter buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a message from Liam. "Hey Emma, I hope you're having a good day. I was thinking about our last conversation. I wanted to invite you to a charity event tomorrow night. It's for a good cause, and I thought it might be fun for us to go together. What do you think?" Emma stared at the message for a moment, her heart racing. A charity event? She had never been to anything like that before. Her life had always been about working hard to get by, paying bills, and chasing after dreams that felt just out of reach. She was used to small, quiet spaces, not grand gala events. But something in Liam's message made her hesitate for only a second. Maybe it was time to step out of her comfort zone. She quickly typed back, "That sounds interesting. I'd love to go." Her hands were trembling slightly as she hit send. The next evening, Emma stood in front of her mirror, unsure of what to wear. She had borrowed a dress from Jenny, one she had worn a few times before, but always with a sense of discomfort. Tonight, however, it felt different. She wasn't just a waitress going to some event. She was a woman being invited to a charity gala by a man who had sparked something in her. When she arrived at the venue, a grand hotel with marble floors and sparkling chandeliers, she felt like a fish out of water. The people around her were dressed in elegant gowns and sharp tuxedos, talking about business and the latest trends. She felt the weight of her second-hand dress and scuffed shoes, and for a moment, she wondered if she should just turn around and leave. But then she saw Liam. He was standing near the entrance, looking effortlessly handsome in a dark suit, his dark hair styled perfectly. When their eyes met, a smile crossed his face, and all her doubts seemed to vanish. "Emma," Liam greeted her warmly as he walked toward her. "You made it. I'm glad you came." She smiled back, feeling a flutter in her chest. "Thanks for inviting me. This is a little overwhelming," she admitted, looking around at the opulence surrounding them. "Don't worry, you'll be fine," he said, gently taking her hand and leading her inside. "Just stick with me." As they walked through the crowd, Emma felt like she was walking in a dream. The atmosphere was so different from her everyday life, the laughter, the fancy drinks, the conversations about art, business, and philanthropy. She couldn't help but feel out of place, but Liam's presence by her side made her feel strangely calm. They found a quiet corner away from the crowd, and Liam turned to her. "I know this must be a little intimidating," he said, his voice soft. "But I really wanted you to be here. I like spending time with you." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She looked into his eyes, trying to find the right words. "I'm glad you invited me," she said, her voice quieter than she intended. "I feel like I'm out of my depth here, but I'm glad I came. I want to know more about you." Liam smiled, a soft, genuine smile that made her heart warm. "There's a lot to know," he said, "but I'm glad we're taking the time to get to know each other." As the night went on, they talked more, their conversation flowing easily. Emma felt like she was slowly letting go of her insecurities, just being herself in front of him. And Liam, for the first time in a long while, didn't feel the need to put on a mask or impress anyone. The night ended with a slow dance in the center of the room, and for a moment, it felt like the world had faded away. Emma rested her head on Liam's shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath her cheek. As they swayed together, she realized something. This wasn't just a random encounter or some fluke. There was something real between them, something worth exploring. And as the song ended, Liam pulled back slightly and whispered, I'm really glad we're doing this. Emma smiled up at him, her heart full. Me too. She knew that whatever happened next, they had crossed a line together, a line that would lead them both to something more meaningful. And as the evening came to a close, Emma couldn't help but feel like her life was starting to change in ways she never expected. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Liam's connection deepened. Every time they met, it felt like they peeled away another layer of themselves, revealing more honesty, vulnerability, and understanding. They spent countless hours talking about their hopes, fears, and dreams, and each conversation left Emma feeling a little more at ease in Liam's presence. They went on coffee dates, took long walks in the park, and even visited art galleries, where Emma would point out her favorite pieces, and Liam would listen intently, genuinely interested in her opinions. He never seemed rushed, always patient, always present. It was unlike anything Emma had ever experienced. One evening, after another casual dinner together, Liam walked Emma to her car. The air was cool, and the stars sparkled above them as they walked side by side, their footsteps in sync. "You know," Liam began, his voice soft, "I've been thinking a lot about you lately." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "In a good way, I hope," she teased. Liam chuckled, his eyes meeting hers. "Definitely in a good way. I just feel like we're starting to understand each other in a way that's real." Emma nodded, her heart beating faster. "Yeah, I feel the same. It's not often that I find someone who just gets me." Liam paused for a moment, then stepped a little closer to her, his voice turning more serious. "Emma, I know this might sound crazy, but I want you to know that I'm not just looking for someone to fill a space in my life. I'm looking for someone who truly fits into it. And the more I get to know you, the more I feel like maybe you're that person." Emma felt her breath catch in her throat, her emotions suddenly swirling inside her. She had been scared to admit it, even to herself, but there was no denying the connection between them, the way her heart seemed to recognize his, the way she felt safer with him than with anyone else. "Liam, she started, but he gently put his finger to her lips, silencing her with a soft smile. "I know," he said quietly, his gaze softening. "I've felt it too. I just wanted to make sure you knew how I felt." Emma's eyes glistened as she looked at him, the words hanging in the air between them. She didn't have to say anything else. The truth was there, unspoken but clear. As Liam's hand brushed against hers, she felt a spark of something undeniable, something more than just attraction. It was a sense of belonging, as though they had always been meant to find each other. "I'm glad you said that," Emma whispered, feeling her heart flutter in her chest. "I've been thinking the same thing." They stood there for a moment, just looking at each other, the world around them fading into the background. It was as though time had stopped, leaving only the two of them in that perfect, quiet space. Finally, Liam spoke again, his voice a little more playful. "So, what do you say? Want to take a chance on this?" "On us?" Emma smiled, her heart racing. "I think I'd like that." As they shared a soft, lingering kiss, Emma knew that this wasn't just a fleeting moment or a casual connection. It was the beginning of something real. Something she had longed for but never thought she'd find. And in that kiss, she felt the promise of a future they could build together, one step at a time. The days that followed were filled with more laughter, more deep conversations, and more shared moments that brought them closer. Emma couldn't help but marvel at how quickly her life had changed since meeting Liam. It was as though she had stepped into a different world, one where love and connection were not just distant dreams but tangible realities. Liam was everything she had ever hoped for, and more. And as they continued to grow together, Emma realized that sometimes, all it took was one unexpected meeting to completely change the course of your life. One blind date, one mistaken identity, one chance to connect, and everything could shift. She knew that she had found something special, something worth holding on to, and she wasn't about to let it slip away. As the weeks went on, Emma and Liam's relationship grew stronger with every passing day. Their connection was undeniable, and with each date, they became more entwined in each other's lives. Emma was no longer the shy, unsure woman who had walked into that restaurant months ago. She felt more confident, not just in herself but in what she and Liam were building together. They spent countless hours talking, laughing, and sharing pieces of their lives. Liam had become more than just a man she was dating. He was becoming her best friend, her partner, and someone she could envision a future with. One Saturday afternoon, they sat together in a cozy little cafe, sipping their drinks in comfortable silence. Emma felt a warm sense of contentment that she hadn't felt in years. It was rare for her to have moments like this, where everything felt right, where the weight of her worries seemed to fade away. "I've been thinking," Liam said suddenly, breaking the silence. "About what?" Emma asked, looking up from her coffee cup. "About us," he replied, his tone thoughtful. "Where we're heading, what we want for the future." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected him to bring this up. But now that he had, she realized she had been thinking about it too. "What about us?" she asked softly, her voice almost a whisper. Liam smiled, his eyes full of sincerity. "I'm happy, Emma. Happier than I've been in a long time. I think you make me a better person, and I want to keep making you a part of my life. I want to build something with you, if you're open to it." Emma's heart swelled as she listened to his words. She had always known there was something special about him, but hearing him express it so openly made everything feel real. She had been afraid to hope for something like this, afraid that she wasn't good enough or that it wouldn't last. But with Liam, everything just felt right. "I want that too," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, but filled with so much emotion. "I never thought I could have something like this, not after everything I've been through. But with you, I feel like I'm finally seeing what real happiness could look like." Liam reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his. "You deserve all of it, Emma. All the happiness in the world." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth fill her chest. "And you, Liam, you've shown me a world I never knew I could be a part of. A world full of possibilities." They sat in silence for a moment, just holding hands, their gazes locked. There was no need for more words, not at that moment. Everything they needed to say was already understood. As the days passed, their relationship continued to evolve, becoming even more grounded in trust, understanding, and love. They began to make plans for their future together, talking about everything from the places they wanted to travel to the type of home they hoped to one day share. Liam's life, once so filled with work and responsibility, was now being balanced with love, and it made him feel like he had finally found the missing piece. He had always been a man who had everything but love. Now, with Emma by his side, he realized he had everything he needed. One evening, Liam invited Emma to his apartment for a quiet dinner. It was just the two of them, no grand events or distractions, just a simple, intimate evening together. As they ate, the conversation turned to their childhoods, their families, and the things they cherished most. "What's one thing you've always wanted, but never had?" Emma asked, her voice soft. Liam paused, looking at her as though considering the question. "A family," he said, his voice tinged with vulnerability. "I've had everything else, a successful career, wealth, freedom, but I've always felt like something was missing. I've spent so much of my life focusing on work, and now I realize that what I really wanted was to build a family, to have someone to share all of this with. And I think I've found that someone." Emma's heart melted as she looked at him. She had known, in the deepest part of her heart, that they were meant to be together, but hearing him say it out loud made it feel even more real. She smiled softly, her eyes glistening with emotion. "I've always wanted that too," she said. "I've dreamed of having a family, a home, a place where love is the foundation. And now, with you, I think that dream is finally within reach." As the night wore on, they shared more stories, laughed more freely, and grew closer than ever. It was clear that they were building something beautiful together, something that was worth every moment of uncertainty, every bit of fear. And as Emma lay in bed that night, thinking about everything they had shared, she realized that love had found her in the most unexpected of ways. It had started with a blind date, a mistake, and a simple act of kindness, but it had turned into so much more. It was real, it was here, and it was the beginning of a beautiful new chapter in their lives. The days following that quiet evening at Liam's apartment felt like a dream come true for Emma. They continued to build their relationship, growing closer with each passing day. They talked about everything from their childhoods to the things they wanted to achieve in the future. They shared their fears, their goals, and their dreams. And with each conversation, Emma felt more at ease, more confident in the relationship they were nurturing. One afternoon, Liam took Emma to a local park, their favorite spot for walks and casual conversations. The weather was crisp, with the sun shining brightly through the trees, casting soft shadows on the ground. It was the kind of peaceful day that made everything feel right. They sat on a bench by the lake, their legs stretched out before them, enjoying the calmness of the moment. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said the other night," Liam began, his voice thoughtful as he looked at her. "About family, about building something together. And I want you to know that I'm ready for that. I want us to build a life together, a family. I'm not just saying this because it feels right. I'm saying it because I mean it, and I hope you're ready too." Emma's heart swelled at his words. She had always dreamed of having a family, of building a life with someone who truly cared for her. But never in her wildest dreams had she imagined it would be with someone like Liam. He was successful, kind, and genuinely loved her. But more than that, he had shown her that love was about more than just the words. It was about action, about building a future together. "I'm ready," she replied softly, squeezing his hand. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life. With you, I know we can make it work." Liam's eyes softened as he looked at her, a gentle smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "I'm glad," he said quietly, "because I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Emma. I want to make every moment count." They sat there for a while, just enjoying the silence between them, comfortable in the stillness. Emma felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. A few weeks later, Liam invited Emma to another event, but this time, it wasn't just any gala or social gathering. It was something much more personal, a dinner at his family's estate. Emma was nervous, not because she was unsure of Liam, but because meeting his family felt like such a big step. She had met friends, colleagues, and acquaintances, but this felt different. Liam's family was a world apart from hers, wealthy, successful, and established. She wondered how she would fit into that world, how they would perceive her. When she arrived at the estate, the grandeur of it took her breath away. The house was enormous, with tall pillars and perfectly manicured gardens that stretched for acres. Emma felt small as she stepped out of the car, but Liam was by her side, his hand in hers, offering her reassurance without a word. As they walked inside, she was greeted by Liam's mother, a woman with striking features and a warm smile. "Emma, it's so nice to finally meet you," she said, pulling Emma into a gentle hug. "Liam has told us so much about you." Emma smiled, feeling a bit more at ease. "It's lovely to meet you too." Liam's father, a tall man with a strong presence, shook her hand firmly. "We've heard great things. Liam has always been an excellent judge of character, so I'm sure we'll get along just fine." Emma smiled, feeling the pressure ease slightly. She was nervous, but with Liam by her side, she felt like she could face anything. The dinner was intimate and warm, filled with laughter and easy conversation. Emma found herself enjoying the evening far more than she had anticipated. Liam's family, while undoubtedly wealthy, were kind, welcoming, and down to earth. As the evening wore on, Liam's mother looked at Emma with a soft, knowing smile. "You've brought something out in Liam that I haven't seen in years," she said. "He's always been focused on his career, but now I see him looking toward the future, thinking about what really matters. And I think that's because of you, Emma." Emma's heart fluttered at the words. She had known that Liam had been searching for something more in life, but hearing his mother say it out loud made her realize just how much he had changed in such a short time. She smiled at Liam, who was looking at her with the same warmth in his eyes. "I'm just happy to be here, with all of you," she said softly. Liam reached over and squeezed her hand, his eyes never leaving hers. "I'm glad you're here too," he said quietly. "You mean the world to me, Emma." That night, as they left the estate, Emma felt like she had taken another step into Liam's world, a world she had never thought she could be a part of. But now, with him by her side, everything seemed possible. She wasn't just a part of his world. She was building a place for herself in it, a place where they could create their own future together, filled with love, warmth, and the family they both longed for. As the months passed, Emma and Liam's bond continued to grow stronger. They had built a rhythm together, balancing their personal and professional lives with ease. Emma had found herself more at home in Liam's world, and Liam, in turn, had learned to slow down and enjoy the simple pleasures in life, the things that mattered most to him. They had spent countless nights talking about their future, about the family they both wanted, the home they hoped to build, and the adventures they still dreamed of taking together. Yet, despite the deep connection they shared, Emma couldn't help but feel an underlying anxiety. There were moments, especially when she was alone, where the weight of her past seemed to creep in. She had never come from a wealthy background, and even though Liam had made her feel loved and accepted, there was a part of her that still felt like she didn't quite belong. It wasn't Liam. He had shown her nothing but kindness. It was her own self-doubt that gnawed at her. One afternoon, as they sat together in the cozy living room of Liam's apartment, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She had been quiet for most of the day, lost in her own thoughts. Liam, noticing her silence, glanced over at her. "Hey, what's going on?" he asked gently, his voice filled with concern. "You've been quiet all afternoon." Emma hesitated, unsure if she should voice the doubts swirling in her mind. She didn't want to appear insecure, especially not to Liam. But she trusted him, and something about his presence made her feel safe enough to admit her feelings. "I don't know," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I just feel out of place sometimes, like I'm not enough for you, like I don't belong in your world." Liam's expression softened, and he immediately moved closer to her, taking her hand in his. "Emma, you're everything I've ever wanted. You don't need to feel like you don't belong. This is your world, too, just as much as it's mine." Emma looked up at him, her eyes searching his face for reassurance. "But sometimes I feel like I'm just this girl from nowhere. Like I don't deserve any of this, any of you." Liam shook his head, his grip on her hand tightening. "That's not true. You've never been just a girl from nowhere. You're Emma, and that's more than enough. You bring so much light into my life, and I'm grateful for every moment we share. Don't let those old doubts control you." Emma felt a tear slip down her cheek, and she quickly wiped it away, embarrassed by her vulnerability. "I'm sorry, I don't know how to shake this feeling." Liam leaned in, brushing his lips gently against her forehead. "You don't have to apologize. It's okay to feel that way sometimes. But remember, I'm here, and I choose you every single day." Emma smiled softly, feeling the warmth of his words sink deep into her heart. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know what I'd do without you." "You'll never have to find out," Liam replied, his voice filled with sincerity. "You're not alone anymore. We're in this together." Over the next few days, Emma's doubts slowly began to fade, replaced by the quiet strength of the love they shared. She had spent so long doubting herself, but Liam's constant support had reminded her of her worth. As their relationship continued to evolve, Emma began to see herself, not just as the woman who had stumbled into Liam's world, but as someone who was an integral part of it. She had her own strengths, her own voice, and she knew that with Liam by her side, she could face anything. One evening, as they sat on the balcony overlooking the city skyline, Liam turned to her with a smile. "There's something I've been meaning to ask you," he said, his eyes filled with warmth. Emma raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What is it?" Liam took a deep breath, his expression serious. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Emma. I want to build a future with you, a family. I want you by my side, forever. Will you marry me?" Emma's heart skipped a beat, and for a moment, everything around her seemed to stop. Her mind raced, but her heart knew the answer before her lips could form the words. "Yes," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, but filled with all the love she had for him. "Yes, I'll marry you." Liam's eyes lit up with pure joy, and he pulled her into his arms, holding her close. "I promise. I'll spend the rest of my life making you feel as loved and cherished as you make me feel every day." Emma closed her eyes, feeling the weight of his words sink in. This was real. This was the life she had always dreamed of, the life she had never thought possible. And now, with Liam by her side, she knew that nothing could stand in their way. Their future was bright, and it was theirs to build together, one step at a time. The days following the proposal were a whirlwind of excitement and planning. Emma and Liam were swept up in the joy of their engagement, but amidst all the celebrations, Emma couldn't shake the overwhelming feeling that their lives were about to change in ways she hadn't fully anticipated. The thought of being married to Liam, of building a life together, made her feel more alive than she had ever felt before. Yet, there were moments, late at night, when she would lie awake and wonder if she was truly ready for everything that came with being part of Liam's world. She had never imagined a future like this for herself, living in a beautiful home, sharing every day with someone who loved her unconditionally. It was almost too much to believe. But when she looked at Liam, when she felt his hand in hers, she knew deep down that this was exactly where she was meant to be. Liam, on the other hand, was completely at ease. He had always known that Emma was the one for him, but now, seeing her so open and willing to build a future together, he felt more certain than ever that he had made the right choice. They spent their days meeting with wedding planners, picking out venues, and imagining what their life would look like once they were married. One afternoon, they visited a small vineyard on the outskirts of the city. A place that felt peaceful and intimate, just like the life they wanted to create. Liam had mentioned it before, saying he wanted their wedding to be a reflection of their love, a simple, yet beautiful day surrounded by nature and their closest family and friends. As they walked through the vineyard, hand in hand, Emma couldn't help but be struck by the tranquility of the place. The rows of grapevines stretched out in front of them, and the gentle breeze carried the scent of fresh earth and blossoming flowers. "This is perfect," Emma said softly, looking around at the breathtaking view. "I can already picture it, our ceremony here, with everyone we love gathered around us." Liam smiled, his eyes glowing with affection as he looked at her. "I can too," he replied, his voice full of warmth. "I've always wanted something simple, something that feels real. No grand gestures, no fuss, just us, committing to each other for the rest of our lives." Emma's heart swelled with love as she looked at him. She had always known that Liam was different from the other men she had known. He wasn't interested in showing off or making a spectacle of his life. He valued the quiet, meaningful moments, the ones that made a relationship real and lasting. And that was exactly what she wanted too. As they continued to walk through the vineyard, Liam stopped and turned to her, his expression suddenly serious. "I know this is a big step, Emma," he said, his voice a little softer. "And I want you to know that I'm ready for this, for everything that comes with it. I want to build a life with you, and I promise that no matter what, I'll always be here for you." Emma felt her heart leap at his words. She had known all along that Liam was the one she wanted to spend the rest of her life with. But hearing him say it, hearing the certainty in his voice, made everything feel even more real. She smiled at him, her eyes sparkling. "I'm ready too," she said, her voice full of conviction. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life. With you, I know we can face anything together." Liam pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly as they stood there in the middle of the vineyard, the world around them quiet and still. They didn't need words to understand each other. The love they shared spoke louder than anything else. As they held each other, Emma realized just how far they had come. From that first awkward blind date to the moment they had shared on the balcony when he asked her to marry him, everything had led them to this point together, ready to face the future as a team. The days that followed were filled with more preparations, but also more moments of quiet connection. They spent their evenings cooking dinner together, watching their favorite movies, and dreaming about their future. Emma had never felt more at peace, more certain that this was the life she was meant to lead. And Liam, for the first time in a long while, felt like he had everything he had ever wanted. The future was bright, and they were walking into it hand in hand. On the day of their wedding, the vineyard was transformed into a magical place. Soft white lights twinkled in the trees, and the scent of fresh flowers filled the air. Emma stood at the edge of the aisle, her heart racing as she looked up at Liam, who was waiting for her with a smile that made her feel like the luckiest woman in the world. As she walked toward him, every step felt like a dream one she never wanted to end. When they exchanged their vows, there was no need for grand speeches or elaborate promises. They simply spoke from the heart, sharing their love and their commitment to each other. It was simple, beautiful, and perfect in every way. And as they sealed their vows with a kiss, Emma knew that this was just the beginning. Their story was far from over. It was only just beginning, and together they would write the most beautiful chapters of their lives. As Emma and Liam stood together, hand in hand, surrounded by their loved ones on their wedding day, they knew this was only the beginning of their beautiful journey together. The ceremony had been simple yet profound, a true reflection of the love they shared. The gentle breeze in the vineyard, the soft murmur of guests, the glistening light of the sun fading into evening, all of it felt surreal, as though the world had paused just for them. They had made promises to each other. Promises to build a future filled with love, understanding, and unwavering support. Emma had always dreamed of a love like this, but she never truly believed it was possible for her. She had been through so much in her lifetimes of uncertainty, loneliness, and self-doubt, but here she was, standing beside the man who had shown her what real love was. Liam had always believed in their love from the start, and now, as they stood together, exchanging vows, it felt like every doubt, every fear, had been replaced by a deep sense of peace. He knew, with every fiber of his being, that this was exactly where he was meant to be. As they celebrated with their friends and family, Emma realized how much had changed in her life since meeting Liam. The woman she was now was confident, strong, and most importantly, loved. She no longer felt like an outsider in Liam's world. She was a part of it, of his life, his dreams, and his future. The night was filled with laughter, music, and dancing, and as they shared their first dance as husband and wife, Emma couldn't help but feel that they had both found their way home. Liam held her close, his hands gently resting on her back as they swayed together, lost in the moment. The world around them faded away, and all that mattered was the person in front of them. "I love you," Liam whispered in her ear, his voice thick with emotion. "I love you too," Emma replied softly, her eyes filled with tears of happiness. "I never thought I could feel this complete, but with you, I do." The music played on, but time seemed to stand still as they held each other in a moment of pure, undisturbed love. As the night drew to a close, and their friends and family gathered around them to send them off on their honeymoon, Emma felt a sense of contentment she had never known before. She was no longer the girl who doubted her worth. She was the woman who had found her soulmate. They were ready to face whatever came next, together. Liam, always by her side, had shown her what it meant to be loved unconditionally, and she had shown him how to live with his heart open to the world. Together, they had built something beautiful, something lasting. And as they walked hand in hand down the path ahead of them, Emma knew that their love story was just beginning. The chapters they would write together would be filled with joy, growth, and the kind of love that stood the test of time. And no matter what life threw their way, they would face it side by side, as partners, as equals, and as the family they had always dreamed of becoming. The future was bright, and with Liam by her side, Emma knew that anything was possible. This was their happily ever after, and it was only the beginning.